It's the Traumedy Podcast. Trauma plus comedy equals Traumedy. This week on Traumedy.
It was like there was that first few years where it was the whipped cream on a anxiety cake. And he was like, how's the comedy going? And I said, I don't know, Pete. It's weird. Like it's the greatest thing in the world, but the worst thing in the world. And I think I can't do it much anymore because it's too, I don't know what's going on. I can't live after it. If it's a bad show, I don't want to live anymore because I'm bad at it. If it's a good show, I don't want to live even more so because I just want to end now before something haunts me. He said this thing, he just said it's PTSD.
You're listening to Traumedy, the podcast that helps you take your pain and play with it. I'm Nancy Norton. I am a former nurse, comedian, and keynote speaker about the power of humor, why we need it, how it helps us.
Bring the power of humor to your next event with award-winning comedian Nancy Norton. Nancy got out of healthcare for the same reason a lot of people get into it, to save lives. Message Nancy at nancynorton.tv. The Traumedy Podcast is sponsored by Crybaby Badass. You have to feel it to heal it. You are a Crybaby Badass luminary. See your light in the mirror. Do you have a trauma? Hey, you listening, do you have a Traumedy story to share? If so, send Nancy a message at nancynorton.tv.
This is a very good episode. Every episode is so good. I love my job. I love my calling. This is a calling, as you know. I cannot not do Traumedy because I need these conversations. I hope by listening in, you get a little something from them as well. I really am learning from every guest some coping skills or some inspiration and always something funny every single time. And this is a mental health podcast. So keep breathing. Know you're not alone. If you want to find a comedy show or to connect with me, go to my website, nancynorton.tv. Everything is there. Enjoy this episode, and I'll see you on the other side. Welcome to Traumedy. My guest this week is a radio personality, a dad, a dog lover, a conduit of people's stories. Please welcome Jared Iwi.
Thank you so much. My instinct is to grab a mic stand and pull a mic out of it, but it's right here.
And a comedian. Because that's how we met, doing stand-up comedy. Yeah, do you want... See, I'm using my stand-up mic for this because my Rodecaster mics, honestly, the arms don't reach. So I'm using this SM58.
No, I could tell that's your emotional life preserver. Is that stand-up mic death hold?
Yes. And when I do my keynotes, they're always trying to give me a lavalier. And I'm like, no, I got to have my security. I got to have my
on for a punchline, damn it.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, where do we begin? First of all, let's talk about where we met. So we're both kind of a Metro Denver area. I'm in Boulder. You're in Denver, right?
Yeah. And I think we're kind of on the same astral plane I've fancied.
Yes. Especially after the mushrooms.
I know I was at gigs with you, but when I really met you was when you borrowed my camera so that you could download mini DV tapes of your baby.
I know, and I still haven't done it. That was 5 years ago. And I want you to know it's in this closet right next to me. I do know where it is, and I do. Okay. I have about 10 hours from Nepal, and there's other stuff. And I'm like, why haven't I done it? What is blocking me? And you know what it is? We were just talking on your radio show, which is called Yonder Radio. How do people find Yonder, first of all? Let's get that out there.
Well, yonderradio.com. It's fresh every week there and on radio stations across the country.
It's so cool. And it goes out to all these amazing rural areas. And it's like, radio's back, baby, thanks to Jared.
It is. That's the most exciting thing is that they have gambled on not just radio, the concept, but people. Journalists, producers, editors, contributors. We have people from tribal nations. We have people from Appalachia, Ozarks. We have people from all over the country contributing and telling stories. And all that had to take place is this one show pop up, and people are there with the content and the stories. It's been remarkable.
Wow, that is wonderful. And especially now that public radio is not getting as funded, and these are different kind of stories too that you might not hear anywhere else. I'm going to check it out, obviously, because now I'm on it. So now I'll be a listener. Now I'll be a listener. But I just want you to. Well, we were saying on your show about ADHD and how if it doesn't get on, I have a dry erase board right over here out of sight. But if it doesn't get on the dry erase board, if it doesn't get on a checklist, for me, it doesn't happen. And for whatever reason, that day is like, oh, I can do it another day. And I need to not be holding on to your camcorder for 5 years. So
okay. Well, speaking of ADHD, and when I was first diagnosed with this a long time ago, I was spending a lot of time with my mom in the hospital, and there was a lot of waiting time. And I found in the Poudre Valley Hospital in Fort Collins, they had this mostly neglected library down there. And I started reading books on ADHD, and there's this rule that has stuck with me ever since from some book, and I wish I could remember who wrote it, but it's called Ohio, Only Handle It Once. And when it comes to that dry erase board or anything that I need to do, and sometimes it's rude, I just have to break whatever I'm doing to make a reminder, but only handle it once. Make sure it's either done or it's in a place that it will get done on that initial occasion. And
amazing that stuck with you. And I want to hear more about, in fact, that's what I do like to talk about on Traumedy, is your background. Like most of my friends who are so funny, like you are, have come through using humor as a survival tool. And you were saying your mom was sick a lot in a hospital when you were pretty young.
Yeah, well, yeah. So it was interesting. It was like this interesting space in my life where I had some success in Colorado Springs radio, and I got hired in Denver. And I was also doing comedy at the same time. And I moved to Denver, and it felt like the runway had been laid out for success, radio, comedy, whatever. I imagined that Denver Bronco running back Terrell Davis and I would be good friends imminently. Like in a matter of weeks, we would be like drinking the same drink and golfing. I just saw so much success. But then life intervened. My mom had brain tumors. My dad was kind of moving on romantically. I saw it firsthand. I was horrified. I drove to Gould, Colorado, loaded everything I could of my mom's in the car and moved her in with us. And it was a refraction through the prism of life that at first I was doubting and wondering maybe what happened to my dreams, but ultimately it was the best possible thing I could have done because I got the time with her.
So those were her last years you had
together?
Few years.
Yeah. Last few years. And, you're a nurse, dark comedy. So we were just dark comedy twins, just mauling each other constantly.
I got to tell you something. And one of the things I talk about on Traumedy that you can't possibly know, and I'm going to be curious about something. Right when you were talking about your mom, and I've never seen this before, a hummingbird came to my window right in front of me here and was like, hello, tell Jared I'm here. And I was like, okay, I'll tell him. I'm not kidding you.
What are you doing?
I am not kidding you. No, this podcast.
I'm not here to cry. What are you, just some kind of emotional terrorist? Nancy Norton.
Jared, I am not. I have goosebumps head to toe right now. Right in front. There's no, I saw it with my lazy eye, of course. And I'm telling you, dude, it was telling me, tell Jared I'm here.
All right. Well, I'm a pretty terrestrial guy, but we lived very rural, and a big deal was the hummingbird feeders and keeping bears away from them and making sure they were hummingbirds. And my mom was just a master with the birds. And
Has she ever shown up to you as hummingbirds before? And I know hummingbirds are not uncommon to be a spirit sign, but I'm just telling you I have been sitting at this very spot doing several, I'm here all the time. Never have I seen the hummingbird come right to the window like that. And it just hovered and hovered right when you're talking about her. So sorry I interrupted you, but I was like, I got to tell Jared.
God. My mom, she would have interrupted me there to say something more interesting. She would have. She's like, oh God, he's rambling.
Well, I just want to, listen, and I don't care if I have to say, sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm annoying my listeners with all my spirit signs and stuff, but this is where I live now. And I think it's my age. I think, I'm 65 and I'm not, I'm tired of being in the closet about, like, I've had so many spirit signs on this last trip I took up to Rapid with my friends, and Zach Moss even has talked about him when we went to Rapid to do his festival. We called in hawks. We were like, oh my gosh, but they, that was powerful. So
I almost lost it. I almost completely lost it. No, that's remarkable. I was always very worried about my mom because we lived in the middle of nowhere many years with an outhouse and without running water. And, for her, there wasn't social life. It was raising kids and trying to survive. And, the wildlife, the hummingbirds, the pine martens. And I mean, she coexisted beautifully.
Wow.
And one of the last conversations we ever had is I went in to tell her, like, it's winding down. And if it hurts, we'll end it. And I go, where are you right now? And she had gone blind because of brain tumors. And she, Nancy Norton, destroyer of strength. No, but she put her fist in the air. It was really funny. She put her fist in the air and she's like, Jared, I can see it now. The women are strong. And I'm standing on top of a rock and she was summoning hawks. So, God damn, Nancy, I don't want to be a mess. We just started like 3 minutes in. But anyway, she told me that from the other side of her darkness, she said she was summoning hawks. And I was like, okay, that's brilliant. I love that's where you're at right now.
Oh, man. I love that she came to say thank you. I felt that she was saying thank you. I love that time with you too. And I do believe in post-traumatic gifts. And one of the gifts that have come to me is and maybe it's just because I'm old and my bones are thin, but I feel like I have access to spirit. And I do feel like I get some little intuitive.
Well, I'm glad that she's moved on to hummingbird. I mean, instead of like chewing on carcasses, she can eat flower cocaine and just have a good time.
She's versatile. Can you know that? She's versatile. She'll send you a hawk. She might send you. I mean, my dad sends me squirrels sometimes because my thing, I think my dad always wants me to know is stop taking yourself so seriously. Because I can get, the irony, how they say we teach best that which we need to learn. And here I am trying to teach people how to take their pain and play with it. And I need to learn that. And I wanted to say, you're a writer. I didn't, when I hear you talk, it's so poetic. And when I listen to your reels and your commentary, it's not just poignant and meaningful, but it's said with such phrasing. Have you always been a reader writer? Like, you said you went and comforted yourself at the library at the Poudre Valley Hospital.
Yeah, I've always been a writer. I should read more, but I do get curious and I dig. And I love language. I love what can be done with it. I love it can be so flawed and dirty, but that same sentence can be the absolute perfect thing for the moment. I mean, you could spit out a string of cuss words. It's so foul that each word's doing something dirty to the next word. It's like just a language caterpillar of filthiness, but it's perfect, and I don't.
I just want to be with that. Let me be with that for just a second. A language caterpillar of filthiness. Now that just rolled out of your face.
It did, and that's an issue. I know what I need to do, and I think people like you inspire me. But the one thing I'm missing is the discipline to really work on it. And that's where I'm at in life right now. Is like really now work on it. Like you can spit all that stuff for all the people, and you can get your accolades, but let's really work on it. Like let's bind this thing and make it so it can help more people or whatever it might do.
I love that. And I can tell you do. You want to be of service with it. And I have a memoir that wants to be written that's been knocking on my consciousness, but I had to do enough healing to not come from it with, I don't know, I did a creative writing class once and they're like, your stories are like walking on broken glass. And I was like, okay, maybe that's not what people will want. I needed to be a little more healed. I was kind of in my victim energy, I'll be honest. But when you think about writing, are you thinking memoir? Are you thinking novel? Do you have a sense of what it is that wants to be written?
Yeah, well, I'm working on it now. And I've done a lot. I have about maybe 3 million words that need to be wrangled. And that's too many for a book that anybody would ever want to read. But so the book that I'm working on is called Scraping. And actually it was a sitcom I pitched to NBC a while back. They didn't hear hold on. I have a dog that can't hear that starts yelling when she doesn't know where I am.
Okay.
Hey, Cho, right here. Okay. She gets freaked out. So
does she need to go out or anything?
No, no, she just wants to yell at me because she she
like,
wakes
"Where
up and
are you, Daddy?"
yeah. So, you want to see her?
Yeah.
Here, come here. She's a husky one. Come here, girl. Okay, she's a pit bull we rescued from Texas.
Oh, hi, baby.
Chocho. We did not know that meant pussy.
Can she hear?
Spanish.
She can. Oh, I did read your story about that. You should tell that. Tell that to our listeners.
This is her, and she's so beautiful. But she can't hear, and she gets a little nervous. And now Bogey's here. Bogey wants attention. I see all of you. I'm sorry. Chocho's the only one that gets lifted right now. And Bogey, come here. Oh, come here. Now come here. You're spoiled. Everybody's spoiled. Everybody's spoiled. These are not. This is Bogey.
Hey, Bogey. Hey, Bogey.
Oh, he's a handsome boy. Okay, so.
Oh, so handsome.
So the book, I pitched, it was just a contest. I had this idea called Scraping. And they were like, oh, you can be on a call from 20 minutes with a certain person. And I was like, no. I'm not giving this away. This is one of those things where just out of convenience, I would give away this idea. And it would go nowhere. I need to hang on to this and work on it. I think that's a problem with a lot of social media. It doesn't ask for much, but you give away too much because it's convenient. And so I'm out of shape. I used to be able to lift dogs with the best of them.
Take a breath. Take a drink.
But anyway, so the book is called Scraping.
Okay. Hang on before you talk about Scraping, because I want to give it its time. I stepped on you said what you named Chocho, you didn't know what it meant. And that was all I was just going to say that you.
Yeah. It's in Spanish, people. And it's female genitalia, not like in any kind of helpful medical or biological way. It's an insult, and that's what our dog is. And so for years before I knew we made that mistake, I was crooning about Chocho everywhere I went to all the Spanish speakers in the neighborhood, wondering exactly how I hadn't been flagged and put in a pin somewhere.
That's so real. That's so, you feel so embarrassed, right? You're like, oh no, I didn't know.
We had Spanish neighbors that would call her JoJo, and I didn't correct them, but I realized they were trying to help us.
Yes.
You're like, let's go with JoJo.
Let's just go with that.
Yeah.
Well, so back to Scraping. So Scrapings, plural? Scrapings, plural?
I think it's a Scraping. Yeah, Scraping. Yeah.
Singular, Scraping.
Scraping.
So this is like your life work. Like it feels like this is a big life. Like it's a big, like you said, 3 million words. So it's a big.
Well, but anyway, that's just what I have written. But I need to. Essentially, I'm not writing the book anymore. I'm just editing it down. As a matter of fact, here's some note cards here. This is chapter 4, hostage. I was taken hostage when I was a kid by a drunk, and he locked me in the KOA bathroom. Orgy. This is when my dad was in an orgy. Anyway, so these are what I think, here's the plan. Here's the plan, Nancy Norton. This is, I'm one of these guys that doesn't like to move forward until everything's in place. And it's kind of annoying for people, but I want to get all the kids in the station wagon before I accelerate. And the kids are in the wagon. And here's what this is going to be. So I'm going to write this book and I'm going to tour on the book, but the tour isn't going to be about the book. The tour is going to come from stories that I only allude to in the book. So you'll be reading the book about one story. Within the story, I will just, and not in a corny 70s TV wink and nod way, but it'll just be mentioned. And then people can request that full story.
Well, that's cool.
So for example, it would be like, I went to get my mom from my childhood home and have her move in with me because, he'd invited his girlfriend to our wedding. And I'd go on with the mom story. And then if anybody wants to know about the wedding story, well, I will be on the road with that. And I want to turn it into a multi-tool because I want to create the instances where I can help others. So if there's some institution or a program, an organization that needs to raise money, I have a show. That they're all aware of what it's going to be because there's this book. And it's not for me about sales or whatever. It's a whole nother part of my life, but I need that. I wanted to build that playpen so I didn't totter off into the interstate of too much thought. Like I wanted to build some safe space where I could be on stage and feel comfortable anywhere because they felt comfortable with what they were going to hear, if that makes any sense. But,
yeah. So you show your voice, you show your genre, but also like, hey, this is, I was almost thinking Garrison Keillor. This is almost like, this is good old fashion storytelling, like that multi-generational storytelling where is that accurate? Are you kind of a family friendly, I don't want to say brand, but are you kind of a family friendly comedian or storyteller?
I mean, there is a story about, I think it's, I don't know, 100% family friendly, but it's friendly. I'm not here to shock anyone. If my 12-year-old wanted to read it, she should read it. I mean, it's honest and it's not gratuitous. It's just is. And
it's not necessarily for children, but it is for like, I don't know. Not that we have to put you down in a little box, but you're just saying, I will show, here's my writing style. You can rely on the fact that my other stories are going to be of this similar level.
There's this whole story that I used to tell a lot, and I had an affair with my teacher when I was in high school, and it was funny when I first started telling that 20 years ago, it wasn't really that controversial. But then as time went on, actually, I told it, this guy from MTV, he was on the show called The State. I don't remember his damn name, but he had a show called Risk that toured. And I was on that show and I told that story. And man, I didn't know people were mad that I was sharing it comedically because it was to them a statutory rape and some serious things that I had not considered. And maybe that's just from my white male perspective that I hadn't thought about that. But so
in our generation, you're a little younger than me, but like Gen X, exactly. It was a different time. And you're right. As a male, people joked about that forever, like.
Oh, it's like the greatest extracurricular activity ever, easy A. And she helped me write. She wanted me to be a writer. So I'm like, okay, I didn't know there'd be perks to the creative writing program. But anyway,
go ahead. I had a question.
I don't need, within the book, I think it's gratuitous to have that story in there. But I think to have it mentioned, it will make it something that turns into a conversation on the road or to wherever wants to have the show.
Okay. I love this idea. I love the dimensional piece of it. And it's sort of like, when you're watching a new, like 60 Minutes and they'll go for an extended, interview, join us online. But for you, it's like, see me live for the three, like the spoke of this wheel. In every story has the hub of a wheel, and then there's a lot of spokes that go off on the peripheral story.
Yeah, I want to be able to throw this firework and have new fireworks come off it. And I suck at capitalism. This isn't to make money. This is just to make opportunities to get out, to live the life that you and I had when we were younger. And I don't want to take technology away from people. For you and I, it's been great on Instagram and other places, but also we need to use that, I think, a little more intelligently and make that have us get out and share those moments.
I like it a lot. And I think that I don't know if you're already thinking this, you might be. First of all, your calling is storyteller. Like when you think about your life purpose, it's like, I'm a storyteller. And I do feel like I'm a storyteller as well. And there's just something in me that these stories need to be told. Like this is through millennia of people talking stories around the fire. Sometimes I even want to do this like in front of an audience. I've been doing this a little bit where I rub my hands like gather around, listen to some cautionary tales with Uncle Nance. Like I now feel now that I'm an elder.
You say that. So on my show Yonder Radio, the producer's trying to get me to stop rubbing my hands together because she's trying to edit and she hears my creepy palms doing their little slide.
We're around the fire.
Nothing says mischief like palms being rubbed together. So,
but maybe she could add like a layer of crackling fire or something just to cover that amazing.
Up. I'll be like, listen, I'll give it to you. But that wasn't quite the crackle I was.
But do you know what I'm saying? Like it's like you are compelled to tell stories. It's about getting the stories out there. It's about using your craft. And my goodness, like I said, you're writing, like I'm hearing your phrasing and I'm like, I I didn't even ask you if you're a writer, but I know by your phrasing that you are. And just by when I listen to your reels, they are very thoughtful. Mine are very ADHD, frontal lobe blurts. But what did I say? Wait a second. There was something that came up just within the last minute and a half before we did the gather around the fire. Oh, were you thinking about with your Yonder Radio? So now that the reach is getting out to all these other markets, you were saying, Ithaca, New York to, it's all around the country, right? From this corner to that corner. Were you thinking about doing these live recordings and then having that be your part of your radio show?
Yes. And it's funny. This will be a fine example of what my future is going to be like, because Yonder Radio, what I'm able to do there in interviewing people comes from a time at another radio station where I got scorched by Earth, Wind and Fire's bassist Verdine White, because I tried to interview him without being prepared and he set me ablaze. And so from then on, I was like, I will never short anybody the respect in a conversation. But so now I just love getting to know, I don't care who it is. I don't care how small your contribution to society. I want to know it and I want to talk to you about it and I want to unearth some things. And so that's what I get to do on that show. And so just the other night, Nance, I did a storytelling show and I told a story. It was a radio story, this funny, dirty radio story where a band plays along with you. Heath March does this show and he plays. It was amazing. And, I was going to use that recording on Yonder Radio, and the room was alive and laughing. I mean, when you get it rolling and you're like, I'm alive. And yes. So I got off stage and the videographer said she was going to get it. And I was like, and she's like, that was incredible. And I was like, great, you can just send it to me. I'll send you money. She's like, no, but I took a smoke break and missed the first half. Who's taking a smoke break in a 2-hour show? But anyway, yeah.
That hurts so bad.
Yeah. She said, don't worry about getting on your phone because I'll get better audio through the mixing board. I'm like, okay. But that's part of it. And I think, that's part of the package. And I mean, for me, I just want to be able to, especially for these a lot of these community radio stations that are picking us up, they need a way to bring people to a place to make money to help continue the conversation locally. So I would love to be able to bring that to them. And now bring it to the people have heard me on the radio. They know some of the stories. And now when we get together, it's worth it for them because there's these other stories that I've only hinted at.
Love it. I love it. And as you were holding up those cards for scraping, I was thinking about which story for Traumedy, we could do a 17-parter, which is an option. I'll have you back as a regular guest.
That's amazing. Let me just apologize in advance to everyone who's hoping for something different. Yeah.
But what I recognize is that you have taken your pain, this is a line I stole as the Association of Applied and Therapeutic Humor took this line from Charlie Chaplin to be funny, take your pain and play with it. And so that's what we're showing people. Like, hey, you're not alone. We've all been through some stuff. Jared's been through a lot of stuff. We already heard that he was taken hostage in a KOA campground. His mother died prematurely from brain tumors and his dad was having orgies. So
I'm still proud of him for that. I mean, that was weird for everybody, but still.
And that you also, I had an affair with your teacher. And on that one, and then I want you to decide, I don't know if we fan out the cards, like your 3x5 cards, and go pick a card, any card, or, but before we, we could do that. But I felt like there was something that might be wanting to be told today. But also, before we move on to that, I was just curious, when you reflect back on that affair with your teacher, now that you're an adult, now that you have, you said you have a 17-year-old son, is there any part of you that feels that there was a trust betrayal, or did it feel like that was an okay thing? From your point of view, like as the inner child, your inner child, I guess. I'm curious.
And I from my perspective, it's weird. I hadn't even really thought about it as an adult, looking back on me as a 16 and 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 19-year-old. I went on for 4 years, but I didn't give myself that because I just it just propelled me to where I was. Like my grandma wanted me to go to Hillsdale College, a conservative enclave in Michigan, to be a financial consultant. And I went to Mexico with my teacher and came back, and she overruled my grandma. And I went to Fort Lewis College in Durango and followed her path. But,
Wow, you went to Mexico with your teacher.
Yeah, for 3 weeks.
You did international. So that's child trafficking. Okay.
It is. Because I was 17 at the time. And the weirdest thing about that is that she started a Spanish club through the high school so that we could use that to raise money to go to Mexico. But to do that, it had to be public for other people to join. So 2 other kids joined, 2 girls joined. And so they came with us on our little sexcapade to Mexico, which they eventually all discovered. And it became public after that. But
did she ever get in trouble? Did she ever have any ramifications, or are you guys still friends? Do you still know this teacher?
No, it's weird. I know where she is. I think she still teaches. There was really no ramifications. It's funny. I never really talked about it. And then one day I was working for a tech company, and they hired this terrible general manager. He was a mean man. And my job was to be, this effervescent voice of the community. And I did that. And I think I did it pretty well, maybe too well, because he didn't like it. He saw me as a threat. And let me just show you an example of how much of a clown this guy was, so you know what he had coming. And he had his fiance pretend to be a customer and write letters to the CEO about me.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
and I figured it out because having worked in radio before and just being kind of PTSD suspicious all the time, I was ready for it. And so he knew I knew that. And I wanted to roast him, but I didn't know exactly how. And so here's this international.
Let me rub my hands together for a minute.
Let's get the fire going. So here, this international company had these monthly lunch and learns where one employee of the hundreds was picked to tell their story. And all the company is dialed in from Australia, from Ireland, from Seattle, from Denver, from Austin. And they're like, it's Jared this week. And I was not in a great spot because I just realized this guy had done this to me. And my whole job is to be out there and intriguing people with what we did. And that made that difficult. And so when I got this opportunity, they're like, yeah, tell a story from your childhood. So to all your favorite gods and all the young tech audience and all the human resources and salespeople in legal department and the clients that had tuned in from abroad, I told the story of hooking up with my teacher in high school, and not in just minor detail, Nancy Martin. I went there and everybody's frozen quiet because they know that this shouldn't be public. We were actually a public company at the time on the NASDAQ. And you could see this guy, he's like 6'3" and huge. He's got his, this is a symbol of I'm choking him out and also giving me a hug at the same time. That's what this means for husky white males. I'm killing and comforting at the same time. And
you look a little like Mr. Clean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I do with the bald head look like I'm about to grant a wish, and mine would come true, Nancy Norton. I would make him so awkward and so uncomfortable. And he would go to human resources to talk about this. And human resources said, we loved it. And not only did we love it, we also know he was put in a position where he wasn't vetted and he was asked to suddenly entertain, and he did. So it's ending right now. And this guy, Ryan Clary, who I respect so much, who had done so much for the workplace and just bringing comedy to it. I used my job there to hire comics to come in, and we did videos together. Andrew Orvidal, Jordan Dahl, like this long list of really talented people. And he walked up to me with a shot glass of tequila after that and said, "This is the greatest moment in my life, seeing you pull that off in front of a corporate audience, talking about hooking up with your teacher in Mexico with no details spared for the more sensitive minds." And so that's the first time I'd ever told that story. It ever had come out of me. And that's when I realized, like, I knew I could tell a story because that's what I'd been doing in radio up to that. But that's when I realized, like, oh, I don't need an antenna on a hill to give me 50,000 watts. I can go to any room and I could tell a story. And I just changed people's lives. Like, they did not expect that to happen. And human resources did contact me. We had a meeting, and they were just very complimentary, and they thought it was funny. And but they also told me, like, they were just really hoping that no one would do that again. And the Lunch and Learn was canceled after that. But it was groundbreaking for a lot of people. But for me, it was like, okay, I told that story. It's off my shoulders. Whatever burden she might have left on me, I just
okay. So that was part of your healing. That was part of your healing. Like, that's
exactly.
how I think that's how you took your power back. Because in some weird way, I do think that you took your power back, because she was in a position of power. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean,
no, but that's a good point. And that's we don't realize what's going on often. We just all of a sudden our shoulders are tight and our pancreas is failing. And it's just because things are going on in our body that we're not paying attention to.
But you took your power back from that GM, and you took your power back from her, and you had that witness. Who knows? You probably did help a lot of people, and no one else had to ever do. It was the last Lunch and Learn. That could be the chapter of that in your book.
And that was
last Lunch and Learn.
And then a few weeks later, this coworker of mine, Angela Daniels, said, "Hey, this show is looking for storytellers. It's hosted by this guy from MTV's The State, which I've never saw, which I guess was a big deal." And then I told them that story, and they were like, and then we did a big show at the Bluebird Theater, and it was one of the best crowds I've ever had.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. I love how authenticity rules. That's what people really crave. I feel.
No, yes. I mean, I think anywhere in life, and let me just turn it into like a business lesson so it's more accessible and not emotional for me, because, as you can see, I already struggle with hummingbirds and stuff. But if you are someone who thinks you need or want attention for your business or for whatever you're doing, bring your authentic self. And that can be as simple as just posting on your Facebook page, "Hey, I'm Nancy, and I just started an accounting firm. I'm really nervous about meeting new clients, but I look forward to meeting you." You have just kicked open the door to humanity. And for that, you will be rewarded.
And there's just a resonance. You kind of feel it in your gut. You feel it maybe all the chakras. I don't know. And again, it's not just a hummingbird. Your feelings are valid. It was a message, and I do believe that. So just
no, you're for real, and I greatly appreciate it. My mom appreciates it.
I just wish my laptop had the camera going that way, but maybe it'll show up in my glasses on the playback. I'll look and see. If I tilt my head up, I get the windows in my glasses. I'm just gonna look and see. No matter how many spirit signs I've gotten, there is still a part of me that's like, like I have to prove something, and I have nothing to prove, and I only wanted to just share and validate. It's not about, like, I don't know. I think everybody has these abilities to see these things. Just when you open up to them, I just see more and more. And I have friends that are steeped in science who are like, it's all coincidence, but we call them synchronicities, which are another level. Anyway, back to your 3x5 cards. And when I said, "Hey, would you be open to doing a Traumedy episode?" And you said some stuff's going on for you, that you've kind of taken a back seat to stand up just because of feeling vulnerable. And I didn't know if there was something you felt like sharing today, knowing that the time goes fast, I just wanted to cut right to it. But if you don't want to, you don't have to.
No, I when I saw you had this show, I saw it existed at this intersection that created quite a rift in my life that threw me on the other side of all my assumptions, and just taught me a lesson. But also, I mean, you think you're set, and I did, and then I was like, how sometimes it's disappointing that you are you, but you're talking to you like you're someone else. And you're like, "God damn it, Jared, what is going on?" And you're like, "You're you. Why are suddenly you a stranger?" And, that's where I ended up. And I mean, it was as simple as this. Like, everybody all my life said, "You're the next Robin Williams, or you're the next this, or, all this and that." And I got into radio. People were disappointed. They're like, no, you need to be stand-up comedy. And so I did. The first stand-up I ever did was at Comedy Works. It was their new talent contest. It went so well that I went like 4 minutes too long or something. This judge, this incredible man came up. It was the scariest moment of my life, doing this at Comedy Works. And he came up and said that, listen, it was brilliant. You're not going to move on because you went long, but I hadn't accounted for that kind of laughter. I hadn't accounted for this thunderous wave. And it just gave me the confidence to do more, and then I convinced Bob Newhart to let me work with him while he was in Colorado.
Wow. Wait a minute. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Let's put that up to bring that forward. Let me see this. Wait, was he doing a set here and you opened for him?
Yeah. So he called Cozy 101 where I was working, Bob, and I interviewed him, which I'll send you a link to that if you want it. But and I just asked him, I was like, I could open for you, and he said, I will say yes, but you have to get through my people. And he goes, if you can get through my people, then I know you're charming enough to be on stage. And I managed to do it.
This is amazing. I never knew this about you.
Yeah, it was amazing. And it was funny. So there's all this momentum, but something
you're getting validation. You're getting yes, you're getting a lot of yeses from not just the universe, but your people like the judge saying you're very talented, but you can't move on because you went long. Bob Newhart.
There was this agent in town. She would just book you at bars. I can't remember, maybe Lisa something, but very nice woman. And she booked me at bars, and it was great. I would do an hour and a half, whatever. And it was just off the cuff, just insanity, But there was this thing, I could feel it. I was like, I knew it. I didn't know what to do. I knew it was coming, and drinking was masking it a lot. Not drinking all the time for no good reason, but definitely when I was performing. And it all came to a head. Comcast hired me to do their Christmas show in 2006. And this is a long time ago we're already talking about.
Okay.
And by all accounts, they said it went well. I mean, we were at this packed, University of Denver center, and it was a good time. But I couldn't believe it was a good time. As a matter of fact, I thought it was a terrible time, and I could not unconvince myself.
Oh.
And I did the thing that you shouldn't do. I confessed this to the people that hired me. I told them I was sorry, and I didn't want them to pay me. And then I didn't sleep for maybe 2 days because I just kept thinking about every single thing I did on stage. And and some things were just bright red flags that, even though they weren't problems, I even interviewed the guy who hired me. Like, do you think that person's upset? Because I did a lot of crowd work. And the guy's like, no. And he was scared of me, but I was getting desperate. And I knew whatever it was coming. And so it just kept happening. I don't know if you remember Sandra, who owned Jazz at Jack's, but
no,
it was on Platt.
Yeah, I remember the place, but I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
but she hired me to headline right out the gate. I'd never even opened or featured. Was like, okay, and it was a blast. But it was like it was like there was that first few years where it was the whipped cream on a anxiety cake.
Oh, okay.
And so I'll just skip a lot and get right to this really important part. My brother and I.
You don't have to skip a lot if you don't want to.
And we might come back, but
Okay.
I think this could be a good place for this. So my brother and I, we grew up at a good house. I mean, we were pretty poor blue collar people. My dad had some really, really rough times, like alcoholic, rough, scary times, and he took a lot out of my brother, and physically, and just scary times. And but as a Gen X country kid, I didn't put that in my head as maybe creating something. And one day my brother called, and we hadn't talked a lot for many years because for me, he was the anxiety of being around him and getting in trouble for no reason. Like, he represented family that just made me nervous and on edge. But he has just grown up into this incredible statesman of thought and insight. But I called him once, and he was like, "How's the comedy going?" And I said, "I don't know, Pete. It's weird. Like, it's the greatest thing in the world, but the worst thing in the world. And I think I can't do it much anymore because it's too, I don't know what's going on. I can't live after it. If it's a bad show, I don't want to live anymore because I'm bad at it. If it's a good show, I don't want to live even more so because I just want to end now before something haunts me." He said this thing. He just said it's PTSD.
Mm.
And I was like, I'm not some stolen valor guy. He's a veteran of 22 years, whatever. And he's like, I have PTSD and I have to take medication. And it's not because of Iraq. It's our dad. It's because we grew up in a place that was unpredictable. We grew up in a place that explode at any moment. And, and there's a lot of people very protective of my father, and I'm one of them. He was a hero and a firefighter, and he died in an accident too young too. But so I'm never here to really impugn him. The thing with him is that me as the middle guy watching what my brother went through, I had to learn these ways to comfort everyone else. And I had to learn these ways to communicate with my dad in a new way. I remember the first time where I confronted him angrily. I realize now it wasn't a calm signing at the Appomattox. It was the lizard brain flying into fight mode. And that was where I was comfortable, is attacking this power structure. And somewhere within all that, and maybe I know people out there know much more, but I feel it, that somewhere within all that came this adversarial relationship with the audience and the guy who booked me or whatever the situation was.
Oh, you projected your dad onto them?
Yeah. I would go to a show and one guy might be sitting like this, as we've established the middle-aged white man death hug. And immediately it would be, I would be worried about him. I'd be in the green room with other comics talking trash or whatever. And immediately I would be on edge, like it was a fight time,
Yeah.
And not in it. And I don't have the academic connectivity on this. I just have the feels. And I got to a point where it just got too dangerous for me. And I did, I heard this episode on NPR that interviewed little kids whose dads had killed themselves. And I was like, fuck, I'm out. Like, I'm not doing that.
So you were concerned because of the level that you were ruminating and the fear, and actually it's terror that you're feeling, that you might not survive it, it literally. Like because you were in so much emotional pain that you're like, this is causing me so much emotional angst and pain, not just angst, that's too small, but emotional terror that because you feel like you might die or you might kill someone. That's the other fear we have too. Like okay, keep going. But you're saying by that point that you had children at this point and you didn't want to leave children, or that you didn't, obviously nobody wants to, like, if I'm thinking suicidal thoughts, I need to stop, I need to stop doing this if it's going to cause me to go to that place.
I mean, I came to this idea that suicide wasn't killing myself. It was killing someone that I didn't like. I was killing an enemy, and it really kind of made it acceptable to me. And I couldn't do that. And I don't want to be so dramatic like that. I don't, because when you bring up suicide and then all of a sudden everybody's like a dime store psychologist, and not you, Nancy, but it's just like
well, maybe me.
Do you feel me? Do you feel the Gen X country boy, like not wanting to be there, but I know I should be. And I waited for just one conversation so I could just have it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, people were like, you're not doing comedy. Where's the comedy? Were you going to do comedy? You're not going to do comedy. So I figured out ways. I realized that I had made myself alone in this room where I was just floating. And I've started to decorate it with things that I'm familiar with. And the first idea came from a friend of mine, Aaron Templer, who's a teacher now at Metro State. And he brings me in to do a storytelling seminar every now and then. And it's wonderful. But he told me, I was at the Paramount Theater and I was emceeing a show and it was amazing. And he said, how come you're not doing comedy much anymore? And I told him I was just a little scared for my mental health. He's like, well, why don't you start just doing it for causes, raise money? It's like, oh, so that's the first little lamp.
Yeah.
Jesus. Jared Huey, bring it together. Okay, so anyway, that's the first little lamp in the room. It's like, oh, there's a cause. And even some of those gigs, I've struggled. I was just at one a couple weeks ago. Lovely people. I thought I was just going to be there to MC. They wanted me to do comedy, and but it was not promoted that way. It wasn't said anything. So I kind of just resigned myself that I got to drink beer and MC. But then they really wanted me to do comedy, and apologies to them. I know they're disappointed, but I didn't, because I didn't want to have that kind of night. I wasn't there. There was no lamp on in the room, even though this is a fundraiser.
You didn't have your living room. You didn't have your living room container.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so with this visual, that's what this book is. I'm decorating it with my trinkets. So I'm not alone in the room.
Yeah.
All
This
these
is
stories that have magic carpeted me to this moment are there. And the vulnerability isn't as much because I got all my things. And people who are there aren't caught off guard because they're familiar with them.
I'm hearing you, and I want you to know, as a trauma survivor and someone who's done a lot of trauma therapy, I'm curious if you've done any trauma therapy so that it doesn't become, because I actually have a thing about having a memory of being intermittently suffocated as a child, and who knows if it's real or imagined, but whatever it is, everything in my life started making sense. Like literally, the terror I felt on stage is like, oh, they're not going to kill me if I don't. Like if I disappointed someone, I was afraid they would kill me. But not consciously, otherwise I could argue with it. It was on a midbrain kind of thing. But have you done any kind of trauma therapy, like EMDR, brain spotting, or psychedelic therapy by any chance?
I started growing shrooms, and I mean, I'm telling you, my little boys at the time when I was doing this, they came in and they're like, "You're doing drugs," and I'm like, "Well, if you were to go to a pharmacy, they would give you this thing, and these are just natural. This is Adderall that I was given to me 4 years ago that I only occasionally use when I really need to hunker down and edit something, like our interview that we just did." But
yeah, same. I do the same thing with my ADHD medication. Chewing gum, and an Adderall. Let's go.
I can edit the Odyssey with just like 2 fingers and 6 hours just into a 30-second PSA about a Greek guy. But no, and it's funny, like some guys have affairs on their wife where it's, this is some lascivious thing with someone else. But my affairs was trying therapy secretly because I didn't want to make a thing out of it. I did hypnosis. I went to several different therapists, but I've never really committed. I just took ideas from them. I just wanted them to say, "Oh no, you're not alone. This is the thing." That's it. Like, and I'd be like, "See ya." So.
Well, I want to really encourage. I mean, I am not licensed to. I do have a nursing license, but this is beyond my scope of practice. But I'm just telling you, man, the fact that you're not able to let your gift shine because of PTSD is a shame. So I so encourage you, and I have a wonderful psychedelic therapist I know, and also we could talk later about.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I just want you to be able to feel safe, and let your light shine and let your gifts shine, because obviously this is incredible. I'm telling you my story on your show about like getting to be the house MC for 3 years. And I've talked to so many comics and they're like, wow, that's weird that you just got hired the first time you did comedy. But man, the fact that you're headlining like right out of the gate, that you have these skills like Robin Williams, like your synapses fire. But I think to me, one of the local comics, and I don't know if you've ever met Todd Jordan, but his synapses fire like that. He's a genius. Everybody will say, "Oh, you know him?"
No, I would love to see him. No, this town is so riddled.
No, but he doesn't perform anymore either because of the gift and the curse. There's always 2 sides to those coins.
No kidding. There's another one.
But I'm just saying, he does a lot of writing for other people. Like if you ever have we can go do some co-writing with a bunch of comedians, and Nora Lynch will say, yeah, you go meet with a bunch of comedians and you give them a premise, they'll come up with 1 or 2 punchlines for you. Todd will have 17. It's like, there you go.
Yeah.
He's just like, your mind works like that. Your synapses fire so fast, but the blessing and the curse of creativity is that you made up a whole story about every single person that you were looking at. And that's the gift of being a trauma survivor, because you're scanning for safety. You're seeing everything. And I know when I first started comedy, I only saw, and it sounds like it's almost like you did go too fast. Like you didn't get to gather enough data points. And
you're exactly right.
So fast. And all of a sudden you're in front of 1,000 people at the Paramount or 1,200 or whatever that place holds. And it's like, it's a lot for somebody who doesn't have 10 years under their belt, it's just a lot. There's just a lot.
No, you're so right. I mean, I was writing on ether. And it was good. That was going to break. That was going to let me down.
Well, the fact that you pulled it off, actually, you're the only one that stopped you. So nobody else was saying, hey,
Yeah,
that wasn't good enough. I mean, and I just wanted to say though, because of my PTSD, when I first started stand up, I only saw the people that were either a threat or they were yawning and then something, I can't even explain it. One day I stopped seeing them and started seeing the people that were with me. And it might've been because of trauma therapy, and also I love that you said you love being of service. Cause when I coach comics, I'm trying to say like, our ego, our inner child is so scared. And that's the part of us that's like trying to get, I think, at least for me, I'll say, to feel known, loved, and celebrated and scared. But then when I'm at my adult self and I'm like, let me be of service. And even before this, I always do this little prayer like you heard me do before the episode here, but I do it behind the curtain. I always say, let them leave feeling better than when they walked in. Let me be of service to my client and their cause. And it just helps me get my little ego out of it. It's not about me. I am a facilitator, but it is a shared experience, and I am a part of that shared experience. Anyway, I don't know. That was preaching. I preached a little.
No, it wasn't. No, it's just right. I mean, I remember my mama died, and 9 days later, I headlined Jazz at Jack's, and I was backstage, and there had been a little bit of a kerfluffle, and there should have been, because 2 traveling comics showed up for that night, and they assumed that they were going to be feature headliner, and Sandra was like, "No, Jared's the headliner," and right in front of him, and I was like, I mean, I'd done like 9 shows, and
that is amazing.
and so they were mad, as they should have been. I mean, these people had served their time like barnstorming Iowa and cracking jokes over people watching Fox News instead of them. And so I was so nervous before then. And I remember I was backstage, and all I said, my mom had just died, and she used to say phooey when she was trying to diminish something, this phooey, we could do this. And I just said that. I was like, phooey. And I walk out there, and then it's just, I don't even know what's happening. I just see like glimpses of laughter. I see,
you're in the flow state. You're channeling muses.
I see myself turning into atoms and just mingling. I vaporize, and I am just a hug for the entire room.
Oh, I love this energy. Your energy. That is it. That is it. You're on a frequency.
So I said to you when you first called, or we emailed or something, I said, I'm tottering back to comedy. And that's what I'm doing, is I'm just creating a safe space so that I could do it again and get to that point where I could be that free, because I lost it. I couldn't do it. People would show up to my shows, and, they'd all, even non-white bald guys would be doing, this, because they were like, where's that? I had a friend that she traveled to see me, and she's like, where's Jared in the living room? And I've always used that as like, oh, that's a good point. Jared in the living room, just comfortable and going off on something.
Yeah.
But, then it just became so mental and less metaphysical that it was hard to take off. So now that's the tottering that's going on. But
I love it. I love that you're tottering back in. And I will, we'll talk after too. And I hope to connect you with some good trauma therapy so that you can do it and you're already doing it. You know what you're doing, because that's a lot of it is creating a container, a safe container, and knowing that you're safe, and that people are responsible for their own feelings. I'm always worried, did I offend them? Did I, there's just so many layers to it.
So you do that too. It's weird. I never worry about that much, because throughout the day, I'm, an upstanding citizen, and my dialogue is clear. But then when I'm on stage and I've got, leprechauns of joy leaping out of me with quips, sometimes I worry. And then I will catch up sometimes with those people, and they're like, no, it was funny. As a matter of fact, I'm in my hometown, and I have this back and forth with a woman who's in the crowd, and it's hilarious. And the backstory is I've hooked up with this woman, and she's making fun of me based on that experience when we were in high school. And her husband's there now too. And so I'm just up all night thinking about her and her marriage and what have I done. And I want to call her all night long. And finally at 6 a.m, I break and I call, and she's like, what? And I'm like, and she's like, what's worse is you calling me at 6 a.m. That's worse. She goes, it was funny last night. We as a family come to see you, and we've done that multiple times. Can you take that Can you put that in your little emotional pipe and smoke on it for a while and maybe let that have you chill? But that's where I'd go mentally. But and it sucked because I am in a most exquisite, all night long fashion destroying my own punchlines by awaiting like some creepy gargoyle to spring at people about the effects they had on them.
And that is PTSD. It's that fear of getting blindsided. So what we do is we try to anticipate that. Like, am I going to get a call from her husband in the morning?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And I mean, I even had an occupational therapist tell me that's why my eye is out, because I'm looking for that. I'm looking for that thing that's going to come at me. But it all makes sense. It helps when it makes sense, doesn't it?
Oh, gosh, I know.
Blindsiding is the worst. I hate getting blindsided. So I'm always trying to head them off at the pass, and make amends or whatever I have to do. Anyway, gosh, I'm excited for you to get back into it and have resources and know, like, it's comedy. Everybody knows it's comedy. And yes, listen, people want, if they're going to get offended, they're responsible for their own feelings, and if their marriage is that insecure, God help them. You know what I mean?
It wasn't. I
know.
Projected that. I know. It's like, how bad of a comic am I that I not only destroy my own punchline, but I provide some reasoning why it should be bad. I mean, what am I doing? It's like I'm a plumber that shows up and clogs your drains. I mean, come on.
Or that's the fear. It's the fear.
Yeah.
I think that in of itself is a good bit that you could do, is like, here's my, you do the bit and then you have to do the whole deconstruction afterwards, like show people how you now I'll be laying in bed awake and not thinking about this. Because sometimes I notice I do that on stage in real time sometimes, where I'm like, hey, are we good? Is everything, you know what I mean? Like, I do sometimes go back and ask. And yes, I might sip a little whiskey now and then and liberate some truth that I'm like, sort of like the morning after a good party and you're like, oh, shoot, I shouldn't have said that to the host's wife about their dog or whatever, those so many people have woken up the next morning going, what did I say exactly?
No, it's so, some people cure cancer with a gray matter. I'm thinking about a conversation I had in 1997, at City Market in Durango. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I should have equated the melons to that woman's child's head. God. But, oh, jeez. Well, I need to go. I got to go. I don't want to go.
Time for closure. Listen, thank you for sharing your vulnerable truth. And let's teeter-tottering back into comedy. We're going to do this again because we could, next chapter. So thank you, Jared Iwi. I don't know why I don't want to say it that way. It's spelled. Tell people how they can follow you. I want them to. I
gotta say, I will. So Jared Ewi, JaredEwi, Instagram. I think all the things really. If you just Google Jared Ewi, there's probably some crappy comedy sets out there that should go away. As I'm trying to figure out how to do things. But I'm the host of Yonder Radio, which is being syndicated around the country, and that's just it's incredible. I'm going to do a show soon where my set essentially is going to be one of the chapters of this book. So that's how I'm going to kick off this book is that. So that'll be coming up.
All right. We'll watch for it on Jared Iwi at Instagram. Yeah. I'll put it in the show notes, but also you got to follow him. Very funny. I love the way you straighten out manhole covers. It's an interesting niche. I will say it. It's very funny.
It feels great. And I couldn't believe that something that felt that good would also be something that everybody else wanted to participate in,
Everyone
at least through clicks.
All the people with OCD tune into that. Thank you for taking all this time, and we'll see you next time.
Well, thank you so much, Nancy.
Bye.
Bye.
I want to thank my guest, Jared Iwi. Follow him on Instagram, JaredEwi, Jared Iwi, and tune into Yonder Radio at yonderradio.com, also on the radio. So I'm going to be on Yonder Radio so you can listen to me talk some more. Oh, shoot, Betty. I want to thank my son, Nathaniel Norton, for providing the music loop for Traumedy, and my mascot in-house, Mushu, the magic Shih Tzu. All the dogs, all the healing animals in the world. Thank you so much for what you do for us. Anyway, I hope you love yourself no matter what. And remember, no matter what, keep laughing.